But when that same doctor 5 minutes later asked me, do you know what Down syndrome is? That was one of the saddest moments of my life.
And my dad told my doctor, I saw his left shoulder, he has no arm. And the doctor said, no, he has no arms or legs.
And really the broad banner here is it's going to be amazing.
But just even those words changed the whole trajectory of what they were looking forward to and what they were about to embark on.
Hey, it's good to be back with you. Last week, we saw that sometimes choosing to be pro-life can be hard. And you can watch it in any of the previous episodes if you've missed them. But today we're gonna see a glimpse of what it's like to have special needs and to raise a child who has special needs. Can these challenges make us better? And how do we teach our children to respond to others with kindness? Come on, let's lean in and see life.
I'm looking forward to our discussion today. Yes. And really the broad banner here is it's going to be amazing. And we have some great guests to talk with us about that. And Nick, let me start with you. What was it that your mother and father heard about your diagnosis? What did they hear from that doctor?
So actually, my mom was a nurse, a midwife in Australia. I was the firstborn son. So they had 3 sonograms and they had no idea that I had no arms, no legs. The doctors did not do the measurement between elbows and fingers and knees and toes to find out kind of like the growth of who I am. But it was interesting when they determined the sex of her son, they said, oh, it was easy to tell because the legs were not in the way. True story. So when I actually was born though, the doctor held me low. He was in shock. Nurses started crying. They wrapped me up, took me to the side of the room, and my mom's like, what's wrong? My dad saw my left shoulder, and my dad told my doctor, I saw his left shoulder, he has no arm. And the doctor said, no, he has no arms or legs. And my mom and dad were just weeping. My dad asked my mom, can I go and see him? Because they put me in another room. And she said, sure. He unwrapped me, looked at me, wrapped me up, went back to my mom and said, he's beautiful. Now, my mom, being a medical profession, if you will, on that level, went to every doctor that we could in Victoria, Australia. And she admitted to me when I had confidence to ask her, really, how did you take that day? I was 13 years old before I really felt like I could handle the truth. And she said, Nick, I couldn't hold you for 16 weeks without feeling the emotions from shock to guilt to denial to blame to wondering where was God and neglect. But we also understand that it's not about the physical limitations. It's about the calling of God on anyone's life. And if God can use a man without arms and legs to be his hands and feet, then God can use any willing heart. The doctors told my parents, Nick's not going to walk, he's not going to go to school, he's going to be a vegetable for the rest of his life. That's it, sorry. We are so sorry we didn't give you the option of abortion.
So often medical professionals particularly are trying to push a parent in the direction of aborting that child because in their perception, they're thinking of the difficulty that lies ahead. And for them, it's far easier just to deal with it now, right?
Right.
That's the point.
That's the point. But that's the lack of faith in the God who can give you the grace that is sufficient, that any broken pieces in our life can be turned into something beautiful by faith, full assurance in the heart. When you put the word G-O in front of the word disabled, it spells God is able to do what? Exceedingly abundantly more than you can ever ask, imagine, or attain.
We were told that Tyler would be mentally disabled, physically disabled, that he would probably live with us for the rest of his life, and that we would have a broken little boy. But I underestimated what God can do and the impact that he can have on that little boy's life.
So regarding my physical limitations and just overall diagnosis of cerebral palsy, there was times when people would say, well, it can't be done, or, you know, your special needs, even if something as simple as being asked to go to the movies because they were afraid I couldn't walk up and down the stairs. So they wouldn't ask if thinking that they would, guard my feelings, and I just wanted to be asked to go to the movies. The fact that I am disabled and decidedly different when I stand up, even my eyes don't look directly at the camera, 17 surgeries, the body is different. But I was able to look at it and say, hey, if I can do this and be okay with me, you should be okay with me too. It's not easy, but now I can look at you and say, it's okay not to be okay. Because in the midst of our brokenness, that's when God shines through. That's when God's power, prestige, and plan shows itself. And so my dreams to become a doctor, my dreams to go to college, my dreams to have a wife and a family and all these things, the world would say, no, Tyler, you're crazy, you're dumb, you're worthless, you're nuts, right? And you hear those things and you think, well, maybe they're right, maybe I am all those things. Then you realize, no, that's not what God says.
And so for Tyler to not have that opportunity to live his life, and for me to take his life and to make that decision, not only would it have affected my life, because I would have had regrets, it would have affected so many lives. And I think about all those parents and all those kids out there that he has helped and been a part of their lives and given them hope. If I would have decided that he wasn't good enough to be born, or that we would have decided that it would have been better for us. And I think the big thing is, it's really not about us. And I think as Christians, we need to learn, it's not about us, it's about Jesus.
I've had the privilege of seeing parents in person who were told by the doctors, your child has no arms and no legs. And one of their cousins or family members gave them a YouTube video and told the doctor saying, if God has a plan for this guy, Nick Vujicic, then he has a plan for our child. And we had the privilege of meeting the parents face to face of those children that did not go through with the abortion, as far as doctors would say, is the better option. Yeah. And seeing my mom and dad embrace those parents. And what I want everyone to understand is, if God is holding the pen, authoring and perfecting your faith, and your history is his story to share, don't limit as to what other children can also be saved by the miracle of other people witnessing your faith, knowing that you're not strong. It's the strength of God and the community of the church coming around you to emanate and give God, not that he needs us, but giving God's full potential shown in the tangible, because we believed that God said what he said about every child.
That'll preach. That'll preach.
kidding.
That's so good.
When you look at me, nobody saw my potential. Thank God my mother did. Thank God my family did, because some doctors didn't. They didn't see my potential. Yet now I stand in front of you as a doctor. As a medical professional, I will tell you, I've been in incredible opportunities to save so many babies' lives that otherwise would not be saved. The parents are expecting a normal baby. They're expecting a normal experience, right? And that is most of the time an absolute blessing. But the reality of it is, and the incredible blessing, the favorite part of my job is the atypical. And we have this image of perfection. We have this expectation of perfection and expectation of how we want it to go. And I think that that's when God kind of shakes it up and says, you know what, I am in control. But he also wants you to know that in those moments, you can find beauty, and God can take a tragedy and turn it into a triumph. It's not about that immediate emotional pain, and not about the immediate emotional uncertainty, because you're not answering the question right now. Take a breath, take a moment, and let God show you what he can do in the midst of an incredible miracle, because you don't know the end game. And no matter what information, no matter how much you look at Dr. Google, no matter how much you listen to your doctors, no matter how much research you've done, we don't know what happens in 30 years. And I would tell these moms, it's the same thing. You can't see that far into the future. So don't make that immediate decision without giving a moment to think and reflect of how important that baby's life could be, not only for their own family, but for the world.
Robert and Trevor, let's get your story. Robert, let's hear what's happened in your life.
Yeah, well, when Trevor's mom, my wife Melissa, was pregnant with our first child, I had all these hopes and dreams that he or she would be everything I wasn't: scholar, athlete, leader, musician. And then when I saw our first, and we thought at the time, only child being born, the doctor said, he's a boy. That was one of the happiest moments of my life. But when that same doctor, 5 minutes later, asked me, do you know what Down syndrome is? That was one of the saddest moments of my life, to go from utter joy to utter devastation in about 5 seconds. I had some faith in God back then, but I was just so shocked, so angry. God, why me? I don't deserve a son like this. And you know, it's been 31 years, over 31 years since that day. And with all the trials and tribulations and setbacks and successes we've endured, I stand by my original statement. I really did not deserve a son like Trevor, but for the complete opposite reason. Just quickly jumping ahead, in high school, as a freshman, we found out he was being bullied, called the R word, told he was worthless. And then by his senior year, he had turned the whole school around to the point where the faculty drafted him onto the homecoming court, and he was elected homecoming king in the greatest landslide in school history. He got more votes than the other four combined. One funny thing, when we found out he was the king, he was gonna be in front of the whole school, so I rented a tuxedo real quick, and I was buttoning it up on him, and what'd you say?
Marry the bride.
No, he said, I kissed the bride. We go, son, you're homecoming king. You're not getting married,
This isn't that day.
and there's no kissing in the ceremony.
Come on.
Just keep your hands to yourself. And then one of the vice principals that we had a run in earlier, he came up to us afterwards and he said, you know, when Trevor was here at school, we know he was being bullied, not only for his disability, but also the fact that he loves to sing Christian songs before, during, and after school. We tried to get him to stop, but to no avail. But over the years, these 4 years, he's come to realize that his faith is part of who he is. Perfect.
Told you, Dad.
Good one. Trevor has a closer walk with God than I will ever have. And sometimes in the car, we'll be driving and he'll go, there's Jesus. I go, well, what's he doing? And he's up in the clouds. And I'm looking up and what's he saying? He's saying hello to me. And so little things like that. We pay attention to when he says something. We listen very intently. Yeah, that's for sure. We found out as in junior high, middle school.
Yes, that's the one.
We found out that his para-educator was videotaping him while he was singing Christian songs on the school bus, because she wanted to humiliate him by showing how, quote unquote, ridiculous he looked and sounded.
Oh, yeah.
But he kept right on singing anyway.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And today, since then, he's added dancing and clapping to his worship routine. And he always inspires parishioners to tears on Sunday morning.
Trevor,
Yeah?
I have a few minutes. You want to sing me a song?
Yes. Phone, please.
Phone, please.
I got. You step off, please.
Okay.
What?
You're singing too. Oh,
Yeah.
you
Going
want me
away?
Ready for you?
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Woo!
Woo!
That was so good.
That's good, yeah.
Yes, that was so
We heard at the last day of the 2011 Angels baseball season, the Major League Baseball, there's an opening for the position of greeter at their stadium. We go up to the interview time, and Melissa got him a cool Angel tie and a new sport coat. And I put his resume together. There wasn't much to it at that point. And so we go in, I look him in the eye, shook his hand. He goes, my name's Trevor. And the man was sitting there, had his arms folded like this, kind of gruff guy at first. And he goes, sit down, Trevor. Do you know anything about the Angels? He knew all the Angels on the current team and the 2002 World Championship team. And the guy goes, wow, that's pretty good.
Here we go.
And he goes, what's this homecoming king thing about? He's looking, and I explained that to him. He goes, wow, you're a pretty popular guy.
Yep. Doing good.
And then he said, but you never had a job.
Not yet today.
Yeah, not yet. And so he said, but I see you've had training at Trader Joe's, Walgreens. What'd you do there? What'd you do?
Starting, go back, and basic.
Yeah, stocking, facing, go backs. And so I never forget, he looks at his watch, he goes, Robert, Trevor, this interview's gone on for about an hour, which is about 55 minutes longer than I thought it would. I can teach anybody how to stock, face, and do go-backs. That's nothing. But I've been in retail a long time. And I know there's a few things I cannot teach. It's an outgoing personality, a cheerful disposition, and a beautiful smile.
Yep.
And you, Trevor, have all that and more. Our first game is next April 8th next year against the
See Royals.
Kansas City. Can you be there? Yeah, he'll be there. He hires him on the spot, and we're singing praise and worship songs all the way
yeah.
home. And then after that, we thought maybe the Anaheim Ducks need a greeter. So we went over there, talked to her, and the HR manager, and she hired him. And then a few years later, the LA Rams hired him, and then also the
Yep.
USC Trojans hired him. So over the years, he's become known, admired, and loved often by literally tens of thousands of sports fans, fellow employees, team executives, and professional athletes.
That's so inspiring. You know, it's not also about having people who are told by society that they're not going to have a quality of life. And our thinking and framing is, well, what a fantastic postmark and approval or proof of quality of life because they're employed by somebody. There are incredible, and congratulations, by the way. Oh my goodness, what a shining light of Jesus you are, and all glory to him and your parents. God bless you.
Thank you.
But the intricate details of there are a lot of young people that get an education by being around people with special needs. You know, the siblings of children with disabilities, they've got the spine. They don't have any entitlement bone in them because they know what it means that here is life. And life will give you some cards that are unexpected, but together we're stronger. And it's not about you. It's about us. It's about what we learn from each other and how God has given us as a family, siblings in the family of God, that we can learn from Trevor what we can never learn from anybody else. But I think it's just really imperative to even just have discussions. You know, Google is at everyone's fingertips, not just for information for those who are wanting to know more about different disabilities, but challenge your own children. Like, do you have any friends that have a disability, you know, a disabled sibling? Have you ever asked them about them? You know, I think there's many, many ways in how to start that conversation.
Well, we were at a stadium one day, and a woman came by the stadium.
Okay.
She was pregnant with a child with Down syndrome and unsure of what to do. But she met Trevor, and she
Yep.
decided to bring her child alive.
I
we're
did
thinking, maybe just there's something more to his being employed at these 4 amazing jobs in Southern California than just that alone. And so people come by and they can see this is what somebody with Down syndrome looks like as an adult, so to speak.
Yep.
That's amazing.
So,
I have a pastor friend with a son that has Down syndrome, and his son's probably 30, 31. And
it's me right here.
okay, yeah. And he had another couple found out they were expecting, and the doctor said that the baby looks like the baby will have Down syndrome. The doctor was saying that they should abort. And so they didn't really know what to do, so they called this pastor friend to just ask his advice, sit down with him. They scheduled an appointment with him, and so they met. And they told him everything. And the first thing he said was, "Congratulations, this is going to be amazing." And they were just shocked because it was not what they were expecting at all. They thought it was going to be, this long conversation about how hard it was going to be. But just even those words changed the whole trajectory of what they were looking forward to and what they were about to embark on.
I think one of the greatest things is understanding. Can we teach the members of the church to be the hands and feet, whether it's part of a church program or not? And can we get our children to go out and be amazed at people like Trevor? And it's like, how can we help families like your family?
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Our world wants to take away the imperfect. I think we lose the quality of life when we discard babies that can teach us so much. When we have a child with a disability, not only are their lives matter, but it changes your life. And it makes you a better person. People often say, well, if I was raising a doctor, that'd be great. I didn't know I was raising a doctor. I was raising a 4-year-old little boy. I was raising a 13-year-old that had cast all the way up to his legs, all the way down to his toes, and I couldn't move him. I didn't dream big enough. I didn't pray big enough. But God knew He had a plan for that baby. And that gives me hope. And that's what I can tell other moms. Because it wasn't about me. It wasn't about Dr. Sexton. It was about what God did for this little broken boy and made him into someone that can serve others and give. And that's the best gift you can give. And if you understand that in the lives that are the broken or the Down syndrome or the ones that we call handicapped or the ones that we call disabled or the ones that we call that you need to abort, if we could see their value in the future and the lives that they touch, we would understand. You hold on because they're worth every breath that they take, more so than mine or yours.
I am fearfully, wonderfully, beautifully made. I am your flesh and blood. I am marked by your name. I am nothing less than your creation, precious in your sight. I am yours and you are mine.
What a great reminder that we're all created in the image of God and have dignity and worth in every way. That includes you. You know, these families are so inspiring and the struggles they face can be very real. So how can we come alongside of them? Well, first, we can talk about those topics at our own table. For great conversation starters, go to focusonthefamily.com/seedlife to download the Table Talk Guide. And in our final episode next week, we're going to meet some more amazing heroes in the pro-life movement and learn simple ways you can get involved. Don't miss our See Life finale, and I hope you'll join us in Dallas for our live event. It won't be the same without you.